Hi, everybody. I'm LifeL1ke. I'm going to be doing a run of Star Wars Force Unleashed, and this is going to be any percent, no mission skips, which is a category that until last Wednesday didn't exist because a new glitch was just discovered that lets us skip pretty much everything. So I'm just going to overwrite one of these files. It doesn't really matter. Okay. So we can start the time in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so just heads up, the cutscenes ignore my volume settings. So some of them are kind of loud. So I do skip the cutscenes pretty much as soon as I can. The only thing kind of going on right now, the game hides its loading screens behind cutscenes, so I don't actually get to skip until it's done loading. We start out this first level. This is sort of just an intro level where we're playing as Darth Vader. It's going to look a little funny because I have to jump, and jumping is faster than moving as Darth Vader because he walks very slowly. But since there's not really a whole lot to talk about during this level, I'd like to point out that there is a bid war going on for choosing which ending of the game we get, and that can stay open until pretty much the end of the run. The point where I have to make that decision is like literally at the end of the last level when I choose which final boss to fight. So if you have a preference for ending, you've got until about then to get those donations in.
And just an FYI, good ending is still in the lead, $10 to 0.
Okay. And in case anybody's curious, the bad ending is what we normally go for in runs because it is a fair bit faster, like maybe about 2 minutes. So I can explain a little bit more about like the difference between any percent, no mission skip, and what is currently any percent. Now, earlier this week, a new glitch was found in the mission select screen, and we actually do use the mission select screen to skip a tutorial a little bit later. So you'll be able to see what I'm talking about, sort of. But you can kind of spam certain inputs on the mission select screen, even from a new game, and because the menu works kind of funny with the way the game loads, you can select a mission that you don't have unlocked after choosing to restart the mission that you're on, and then you just go to that other mission that you aren't supposed to have. And that cut the time of the run down quite a bit. Like my real-time PB for this game without mission skips is 1 hour and 5 minutes. My real-time PB for this with mission skips is 16.5 minutes. Anyway, we're getting to the first boss here, sort of the tutorial boss. And it's kind of one of the most annoying ones to fight because Vader, oddly enough, has... Okay. Really? Because Vader doesn't have a lot of abilities to work with. Seems a little bit counterintuitive. But what I'm going to do is spam Force Grip. That's just going to kind of toss this guy on the ground. And while he's on the ground, I'm going to try to do this attack called Impale, because that deals the most damage out of any single attack. Another thing about bosses, you'll see that little bubble pop up around them. When that happens, they're locked in the animation for one of their attacks, and there's no way to interrupt that or damage them during that. So, like right now, I can't hit him, I can't interrupt him. All I can do is kind of stand and wait for that attack to finish. And then we get a quick time event to end each fight. And yeah, you'll see some weird physics things going on, like with trees and other objects. This game actually runs 3 different physics engines at the same time. One of them handles like organic matter, like plants, trees. One of them handles things like metals so that those will bend, and I think another one does glass. Anyway, so we're going into the grip tutorial right now, and it's been found that by going to mission select in the grip tutorial and then just choosing the first mission, which is unlocked, takes us directly to the first mission, so we skip the tutorial. Now we still allow this in no mission skips, because the tutorial is not a mission that you can actually select. So it's not really counted as a mission by itself.
According to Imperial records, Master Ram Kota was a respected general in the Clone Wars.
You're hunting Jedi.
I bring Darth Vader's enemies to justice. Now so do you.
Master Kota was a
Anyway,
military
story.
genius, but felt that clone soldiers were unfit for battle. Instead, he relied on his own militia.
So there were no clones in his squad when Order 66 was issued.
And after Order 66, he vanished. Official Imperial records actually claim he's dead.
Okay, no more story. Going into the first mission here, we now get to play as the main character of the game, which is Starkiller. And he has a dash ability, which means that I no longer have to spam jump. I can spam this dash instead. He also has a faster movement speed in general than Vader does, so even just doing this is faster than hopping around. Well, first thing I'm going to do is just kind of avoid these guys. They tend to get in the way a lot. I'm going to grab this unlimited energy. Just kind of break some stuff over here with that unlimited energy. Come on. Target the thing. Thank you. This game has kind of a weird targeting system. It'll just kind of pick something that's in front of your character. Like right now he's choosing to force push anything except for the door that I need to open. I'm just kind of throwing things at these enemies. Ooh, this is off to a rough start. Anyway, it's not so much that I need these enemies to die. I mean, I get some experience towards leveling up by killing them, and having them dead means that they can't interrupt me while I'm trying to move around, which is useful. But some of them throw grenades at you, and it's kind of comical if you're trying to jump past them and one of them just pegs a grenade straight into your face. But it costs time, so we try to avoid it. You might have noticed a few seconds ago a pop-up on the screen talking about a certain number of TIE fighters having been destroyed. It's just something weird that tends to happen during the speedrun where at a certain point 4 of them get destroyed all at once. And we're not entirely sure why that happens. My suspicion is that because we're moving through the game faster than we're intended to be doing this, it spawns a whole bunch of them in all at once to try and catch up, but it spawns them all on top of each other and they all just explode. But conveniently, by destroying the 5th one, we get a bonus point towards leveling up, and that's going to be useful later on. And those guys with the batons are the worst. So, big important room with a laser gate, and that takes care of the laser gate. Again, this first level doesn't really have a whole lot going on. If we have some donations to read, now is actually probably a good time to do that.
We actually do have one donation. We've got $15 from Hege, who was the restreamer that just came on before me. He says, awesome runs. Let's get some hype for the Jedi Academy relay race tomorrow. This is towards the bad ending in Force Unleashed.
Alright.
That brings the bad ending into the lead, $15 to 10.
Okay. And just general shoutouts to all the restreamers involved in this, keeping the whole thing running as smooth as it has been. And we're getting kind of close to the end of the first level here. I just have a couple more rooms to get through, and then we'll be at the first kind of real boss of the run. I just need to get past these guys. I'm running the game on the easiest difficulty, which has been the standard for this game for a long time, and you can tell the reason for that is just so that I can ignore a lot of these enemies and just run past them, take whatever damage, and not really worry about it. But it does also affect how much health the important enemies like bosses have, so it makes killing them faster as well. And at the top of this elevator, we'll get the first boss.
A boy?
Now, the early bosses are kind of some of the most annoying ones in the run because you don't have a whole lot of abilities. Like, if this was New Game Plus, I would have Force Lightning at this point, which I don't have right now. And this boss has just no defense against lightning whatsoever. But mostly I'm trying to knock him down so I can do this stab attack. This moves on to phase 2 now. So far this boss has been pretty nice to me, and that should be the end of the fight. Yep. So ideally at the end of this fight, we'll find that I've collected just enough experience to get my first level up, which is going to put me into a level up tutorial right there. I'm going to take this opportunity, since I'm forced into this menu anyway. I'm going to level up a couple things. So I'm going to get Saber Mastery for a little bit more damage, and I'm also going to get the Dashing Blast. So Dashing Blast is kind of a movement ability. It's going to allow me to combine both the dashing animation. So I'll wait for the volume to get back to normal after this scene.
Master Kota is dead.
Yes.
His lightsaber. My spies have located another Jedi. Kazdan Paratus is far more powerful than you. I do not expect you to survive. But if you destroy him, you'll be one step closer to your destiny.
Okay, so like I was saying, getting Dashing Blast, it combines both the dashing animation and force push. This travels farther and a bit faster than a normal dash. So that's going to be used for traversal. Now starting this level is also what unlocks lightning, which is quite useful. It's also the strongest attack against the boss of this level, which kind of makes sense from a game design point of view. Now you can see Dashing Blast being useful there to kind of skip a bit of traversal that I would normally have to do to get over here. And it's also going to make this jump work. But you might notice in the top left there's that blue meter that goes down every time I use it. That's my total force meter. And I do have to manage that throughout the run. You can almost consider it sort of like a stamina meter in a Souls game, except that it only really applies to force powers instead of attacking or dodging things. But up here we'll see sort of another example of what I mean by Dashing Blast being both a dash and a push, because you can see that kind of field around me when I do it. That has the same physics effect as using force push. So I'm going to use that to be traveling through doors that I would normally have to just push open, and it's going to allow me to keep my full movement speed while traveling through those doors. A fairly minor skip in this room. First thing I'm going to grab is this unlimited energy. I'm going to try to land on this. Just missed. This room likes to be kind of trolly sometimes. There are various different ways of getting up there. Normally you're supposed to solve a puzzle by like raising up a platform so that you can jump up there. But by jumping on certain geometry you can just make the jump up top anyway. And I'm avoiding using Dashing Blast in this hallway because it's full of explosive barrels, and they tend to like to explode if I dash into them. And this is one of my least favorite rooms in the game, mostly because of these Rhodian enemies. They will throw explosives at me and just generally other objects like that. Ideally I can manage to dodge it. Alright, once I open up that door and get through, you can just ignore everybody back there now. So there's that big laser wall over there. I have to disable that before I can progress. Means I have to go down this way. And I'm saving my Dashing Blast for right here. Okay, normally I wouldn't have gotten hit by the explosion, but it was specifically to kill that Rhodian because he can interrupt me while I'm moving this thing, and if you get interrupted while you're doing this, you have to start it over entirely because it'll go back to its starting point. But I want to make sure to get rid of that one enemy in particular. Other enemies can interrupt you there, but generally they're not over there quick enough to actually get to you in a speedrun. Alright, so in this room over here is the first kind of actual skip of the run. You can see it's showing me this puzzle where I'm supposed to power up that engine to melt the thing so it becomes a bridge. But the thing is, when you create that bridge, a big kind of mini boss will spawn in this room. It's called a Junk Titan, and then you'd have to kill that before you can move on. But by doing a certain trick from up here, you can skip that whole room. Same thing here. You're supposed to use the force to lower a platform to make it across, but with Dashing Blast you can get across anyway. I mentioned there was a Junk Titan that we didn't actually see. We're going to see one right here, kind of. There it is. It's spawning in. We're not going to fight it. I'm going to grab that Holocron there for the 10,000 force points. I don't really need the force points there so much for leveling up, but mostly because it refills my force meter so that I can get here quicker.
Casted Paratus at last.
Don't worry, Masters. I'll defend you from this Sith trash.
Alright, so this is my least favorite boss in the game. I'm going to try to stun him with lightning and then toss him onto the ground with grip. So he's quite annoying when he decides that he can block lightning, or then he's going to do this, which is about the worst thing that can happen in this fight. Not as bad at the start because the walls are still up, but yeah, he is not being nice. But this fight's not too bad in New Game Plus, because you can just fry this guy with lightning the whole time and it's pretty much over really quick. In New Game, he can be pretty random. But you get his health down to a certain point, and this fight goes into kind of its second phase. And the fight has 3 phases. I'm going to try to get some extra damage on him there. But he's going to summon in a Junk Titan. Okay, game. So normally killing a Junk Titan ends the same way as killing a boss with a quick time event. If you do it correctly, by standing directly behind it the entire time, the quick time event wouldn't trigger at all, and you can just kill it a lot faster, but Unfortunately, I was a little bit in front of it still, so... I'm just gonna kind of try to get a little bit extra damage in with lightning while he's just sitting up there throwing junk at me. It's particularly annoying when this guy can block my lightning, because I don't have a whole lot of force energy on New Game. So if he blocks it, it just costs a lot of time because I have to wait for that meter to refill. Especially if I'm also doing grip strats, because grip eats up a lot of force energy as well. That should end phase 2. Yep. I have managed to skip a phase of this fight exactly one time by dealing so much damage in the first phase that he went directly to the third phase. There is no consistent way of doing that, because it's just extremely random that you actually get that much damage through. He also had to be stuck on a pile of junk in order for me to have enough time to get that damage through. So it's not something that I can realistically recreate in runs. Again, I'm just kind of trying to push some damage through while he's sitting up there. Oh, hopefully I get an impale here, which did not. Another annoying thing about this game, the impale attack, it's the same button as your normal saber swing, and it's supposed to happen whenever you're standing next to an enemy that's on the ground. But sometimes the game just doesn't read that correctly, so you'll go to do that and everything will be right, but you'll just swing your saber right over its head anyway. Anyway, another volume warning coming up, because cutscene.
My master, Kazdan Paratus, is dead.
Then there is but one more test.
I'm ready now.
No. You've defeated an old man and an outcast. You must face a true Jedi Master.
Who?
Master Shaak Ti, one of the last of the Jedi Council.
You know, it's kind of a funny theme with these last two cutscenes here. It's like, well, you've killed Master Coda. Oh, but he's not really that good. You have to go fight Kazdan Paratus. He's a real master, but and I don't expect you to survive fighting him. And then you beat him. And then he sends you off after Shaak Ti, saying that, no, Kazdan was just an outcast and not that good. Now you're fighting the real master. Like,
My Jedi's hand is at work.
he keeps telling you he's sending you against someone that is stronger than you and is going to kill you, and then as soon as you beat them, he tells you they weren't that great. Just some kind of master that guy is. Anyway, now we're on Felucia, which is kind of the plant planet. And you see, we've got this whole kind of winding tower thing we're supposed to climb. All kinds of holocrons hidden all over the place, lots of collectibles. Gonna be pretty much ignoring all of them. Oh, can skip a bunch of it by just going over here. And then we're onto this pathway here. So that damage increase, that one's a Sith holocron. So there are two different types of holocrons in this game, Jedi and Sith. So the Jedi ones are the yellow ones that are squares. The Sith ones are these red triangles. And so the Jedi holocrons are like permanent things. Like they give you a certain amount of experience, or they give you a single point towards leveling up one of the three kind of skill trees. Or they give you, one of them gives you a costume, some of them give you lightsaber crystals. The red ones are kind of temporary buffs. So a lot of them aren't all that useful. I'll pick them up anyway just because they're there. Or because generally it'd take more time to avoid picking them up than it does to just pick them up. And then there are some Jedi Holocrons that I will go out of my way to pick up because they're going to be useful later on, because there are certain skills that I want to level up, so that means, like right there I'm collecting a Force Combo Sphere. I'm going to be using that later on to unlock Aerial Strike, which is going to be pretty useful once I have it. I can explain what that does once I get it. There are certain abilities that I want to have leveled up for later on in the run, for a couple of different reasons. Some of them are for skips, some of them are for making boss fights easier. And I mentioned not all of the Sith Holocrons are useful. This is one of the exceptions, which is unlimited energy, which is going to allow me to just get through this tunnel using nothing but Dashing Blast. Or sometimes the geometry doesn't like to let me jump, so it ends up going a little bit slow. I'm just going to kind of hug the left side of the room here since the exit's over here. I'm going to grab a Force Power Sphere, again, and it's going to be useful later on. So here we're coming to the boss fight. And here is Shakti. So I didn't mention earlier, like at the start of Raxus Prime, the game automatically unlocks your ability to use Force Lightning. This level does something similar. It unlocks your ability to use Force Repulse. And that's really good in this fight. And I'll see if I can show that off. So just like that, this boss has no defense against Repulse at all. Unless she's got that kind of red aura around her, then she actually can't take damage. I also don't want to push her off the edge of the platform, just like that. I was trying not to do that, because then you have to wait for her to climb back up. So like, you can see right now she's kind of glowing red. I can't do anything to her when she's like that. I'm trying to get her to land on these kind of blisters on the ground, because those will explode and deal a lot of damage if she gets hit by them. And once her health is below half, this should be about to move on to the second phase. There we go. It's going to move to a slightly different arena, but again there are some blisters on the ground, and ideally I want her to land on those, but she's going to not get hit by my repulse, and then when she did, she flew the wrong way. That's okay, that was still a pretty decent fight. This is, however, the longest QuickTime event in the run. Not sure entirely why this one is the longest, but it is. We got a level up there, which is pretty good. Also, volume warning again, because cutscene coming up.
My mission is complete, Master.
Then you are ready to stand with me against the Emperor. Return to my ship at once. We will at last control the galaxy.
It seems that you are about to achieve your primary programming, Master.
Yes. Finally.
So, having not watched the entire cutscene there, it might seem a little bit strange that we're now standing in a room like this when we were presumably about to go fight the Emperor. So, in the rest of that cutscene, Vader stabs you with his lightsaber and then throws your body out into space. You know, because the Emperor discovered his plan. But then he conveniently rescued us and brought us back to life here. And is kind of sending us on a different mission now. Instead of hunting down Jedi that survived Order 66, he's now sending us off to pretend like, you know, Vader betrayed me, so I'm turning on him and bringing all of the Emperor's enemies together to try and take him down. So that's sort of what's happening now, is the character's playing that part of I'm trying to bring all the Emperor's enemies together. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm using Dashing Blast as this combined effect of dashing and using Force Push to get through doors. So this big enemy here is really annoying, specifically because of those rockets he fires off. So, and unfortunately, the second one also spawned, which could be a problem if he interrupts me here. She didn't, so that's gonna get out of here nice and quick.
No sign of any pursuit. We're already light years away from any Imperial forces.
Then what's wrong?
We have the entire galaxy in front of us. And yet, for the first time in my life, I don't know where to go. I hope you have a plan.
We need to rally the Emperor's enemies.
So here we get, like again, because I skipped the cutscene, we missed a little bit of plot there. Turns out that first boss, General Coda, did not die when we burned his eyes with a lightsaber and then threw his body down onto the surface of a planet. This is also where I'm going to level up. I'm going to put one more point in the lightning. I'm going to grab that one. That one. And here I'm going to get Aerial Strike.
Imperials are everywhere.
Where can you set down?
There's a dock on the adjacent platform.
We're on our way.
Yeah, I mean, it's Star Wars. People don't stay dead. The reason I leveled up Lightning is for a couple of enemies just up ahead here. Which is these two kind of mechs on my left. I'm going for this one first because one of these useful Sith Holocrons is here, which is unlimited energy. And with level 2 Lightning, that means I can just fry him. And with unlimited energy, I don't even have to let go of the button. I can just keep shooting lightning. His health bar is going down very slowly, which is kind of annoying. That means the unlimited energy wasn't going to last until I got through the second one. So I'm also being shot by some troopers with rockets and some snipers. Now the boss for this level is spawning in because I killed those two mechs. And he's going to spawn right in front of me here. The sniper would leave me alone for a second. So you might be wondering, why did I specifically unlock Aerial Strike? And you'll see why when I'm fighting this enemy here. I'm going to be doing an attack as a throw. Just going to throw him really far away from me. By using Aerial Strike, I can get over to where he lands. Ideally quick enough to get in some impales before he gets back up. So it's really annoying that all of these enemies are hitting me with rockets, but it also conveniently kept knocking the boss down, so it actually helped out a little bit with the fight. Also, volume warning again.
I was beginning to worry that you died in your sleep.
Oh, well, I'm starting to wish that I had.
We've reached Kashyyyk. I still think this mission's too dangerous. The planet is completely controlled by the Empire.
The contact better be reliable.
I trust him. He smuggled me to Cloud City, and he's an old ally to the Jedi Order. But all you need to know is that there's something very valuable to him down there. You get it, and maybe he'll agree to help you fight the Empire.
Get what?
Alright, with the story, yeah, we're supposed to be rallying together the Emperor's enemies, so the first thing we did was go to find Coda, so he could have like an actual Jedi to kind of train us a bit. So the first thing he wanted us to do was come here to Kashyyyk, which has been taken over by the Empire since, you know, the first level of the game where, you know, we were rampaging through as Darth Vader, but didn't actually kill anything except for the one Jedi that was there. But he says he knows a senator that wants to fight against the Empire, but there's something that belongs to that senator here on Kashyyyk, and we need to go and get it. So my movement right there might have seemed a little bit strange. It's mainly to avoid getting interrupted by the walker back there.
Master, there's a communications tower nearby. Destroy it, and you'll cut off Imperial transmissions in this system.
If you've got a second, we actually do have one quick shout out to make.
Sure.
Really quickly, we wanted to shout out speedrunstore.com. If you're looking to get some ESA merch and flex on your speed fam, go to speedrun.com. You can pick up a few shirts and a hoodie over there. All the proceeds from that will go to support ESA. So go ahead if you want to flex on your speed fam. Like I said, speedrunstore.com.
Yeah, so this fight's going very strange. Usually this guy doesn't get up so quick that I can't hit him, but he's been doing that quite a bit. So once he's dead, this door opens up. Let me see. There's somebody in that room, but I skipped the cutscene. Turns out that's a young Princess Leia, and she's what we were here to rescue from the Empire. So effectively, we have rescued her. She's going to go take a ship and leave on her own. So why are we still here? Well, part of what she wanted us to do was to shut off the, I forget what it's called. I think it was the Skyhook, but maybe I'm thinking of Shadows of the Empire and just getting mixed up. But it's part of what's keeping this planet enslaved, and she wants us to go and get rid of that so that the Wookiees can be free. I'm going to pick up an unlimited energy just so I can get across this room quicker. I'm just going to get rid of that guy. So I have to break these 7, oh, Skyhook. I have to break these 7 anchors to shut down the Skyhook. I also have to kill this boss. This is Ozzik Stern. He's the Imperial officer that's been in charge of this planet. I'm breaking these hooks in a pretty specific order because I want to end up at a certain part of the map once I've gotten the last one. The game's being nice and trolly right here with all of the attacks that knock me down, just right in a row. So I wanted to end up over here after I broke the last anchor so that I could grab this damage increase so that I can do this. And that pretty much just melts this boss. So once that boss is dead and the Skyhook is destroyed, I'm just kind of on a timer before this level ends. There we go. Also, it gets loud again.
Princess Leia Organa. Her father is Bail Organa, my contact in the Senate.
I want to talk to him.
You can't.
I just rescued his daughter on a planet overrun by stormtroopers.
You can't talk to him because I can't find him! He's gone missing, boy.
What? When?
Bail tried to recruit me to rescue Leia. I refused.
Oh, so this cutscene is the longest one in terms of how long you have to wait before you can skip it.
I told him it was too dangerous, but the fool went anyway. alone, and vanished as soon as he landed on
Felucia.
The Force is strong in you, my boy. To be able to sense my thoughts.
You're just easy to read, old man.
Well, then you should already know our next mission. We're going to Felucia to rescue Senator Organa.
Eat up, Senator.
Why are you keeping me here, Maris? Your master would...
So, fun fact, the same actor that played Senator Organa in the movies also played him in the game. There, we're back on Felucia now, because the second half of this game just kind of reuses all of the planets that you visited in the first half. So now it's taken over by the Empire, so it's Imperial Felucia now. I got this particularly annoying hallway right here. Hopefully I get through without too much trouble. Yeah, that went fine. When we get over here, this is going to spawn in this ATST. And that's going to drop a whole bunch of rocks in my path so that I can't leave the room. Except that I can just do a dashing blast and leave the room. So this area here, there are 3 generators that we have to turn on to activate an elevator. That was the first one. And I'm going to do a little bit of a skip here to get to the second one. So normally we're supposed to cross that bridge through the middle, then take that bridge to get over there. Instead of all that, just going to jump around this way. And the nice thing about that skip is that it bypasses an enemy spawn trigger, so there are no enemies up by this generator. Unfortunately, we don't have a similar skip to get to the third one, so we have to take the bridges.
Juno, I sense it. I can feel the creature's suffering.
It's horrible. Is there any way you can lessen the creature's pain? Can you destroy those cranes that are holding it down, perhaps?
This is in fact the same Sarlacc pit as we saw during the Shock T boss fight, except now we're going down inside of it. So that seems like a good idea. Alright, so once we're in here, there are a couple of like mouths that will try to eat you, but you close them by using lightning. Like there I used lightning. I actually saved that stormtrooper. He's scripted to get eaten by the mouth there. So his dialogue line doesn't change if you get there in time to save him. He still just kind of does his death scream even though he's alive. But he's really ungrateful because he tries to kill you after that anyway. And then we get to this wind tunnel here. Really annoying room to get through casually. And it's kind of an annoying room to get through in a speedrun. But I'm mostly just trying to avoid getting hit by these enemies and knocked out into the path of the wind. If you're quick enough, you can get through that room in 2 cycles. Anyway, now we're out of the Sarlacc pit and we're headed toward the boss fight.
Good. Your signal looks strong again. I'm picking up more life signs heading your way.
So this is the only level of the game that actually has 2 boss fights. And they're back to back right at the end of the level.
Any sign of Senator Organa?
There's this Rancor, we can just kind of ignore it.
I can feel it.
This is another one of those levels that when you get here, it automatically unlocks a certain force power that you didn't have before. In this case, it's Lightning Shield, which I'm going to use at the beginning of this boss fight because it's really effective. Unless it does that attack first, then it pretty much wastes the whole Lightning Shield. Because Lightning Shield doesn't last very long. Okay, this boss is being really shitty right now. See, there's Maris. She's going to be the second boss fight after I've dealt with the Rancor. Yeah, so this has been a pretty bad fight with the Bull Rancor. It's done pretty much all of its attacks that automatically knock me down. And the damage getting through was pretty slow. Anyway, made it through the fight. As soon as this ends, it's going to put us directly into the second boss fight against Maris Brood. And the strat against her is pretty much the same as it was against the Rancor. Just going to put on Lightning Shield and try to spam as much damage as we can, as this boss is particularly vulnerable to lightning. She also turns invisible, though she's not really that hard to find. But getting saber locked is about the worst possible start to the fight. Like I was saying, she's pretty vulnerable to lightning, which is why I tried to use Lightning Shield. Ideally, you can use Lightning Shield once, get most of the damage through, use it a second time, and finish her off. And that fight went pretty badly.
Hey, you.
Alright, so now we're on the second to last level.
It's too dangerous, Master Coda. I know I owe you my life, but
You don't owe me anything. I told you on Cloud City that I can't help you. Not since I lost my sight. He's your hero, and it's his rebellion. Join us because he's asking you to.
you are the first to really fight the Empire. We're not prepared to go to war yet. We need weapons and starships and people with the courage to use them. I don't know how many others will stand with us.
But surely you know some who will.
Well, yes, there are other senators who have spoken out against the Emperor. But they will be hard to convince.
We just need to show them that the Empire is vulnerable.
Let me meditate on that.
Alright, so the rest of that cutscene you see Starkiller goes and he calls Vader and says, hey, I need to do something big to get these people all together for me. So he suggests that you come back to Raxus Prime, a different part of the planet now, where there's this big railgun, but there's a Star Destroyer here, and he wants you to destroy it. Okay, the game decided to teleport me into the middle of nowhere and let me fall to my death. I've seen that exactly one time before. I have no idea what causes it. Only happens over that gap. Okay. Okay. Don't usually fall there, but alright. You've probably noticed by now, most of the rooms in this game I can just walk right through and not fight anything. That's not the case with this next room. This is actually one of the few forced fights in the entire run. I'm going to grab invincibility here, so that this enemy can't actually hurt me and the snipers can't interrupt me. I'm also going to use Lightning Shield to keep this guy stun locked for a while. Scare them. I'm gonna get this guy. I'm gonna grab this damage increase so that I can just fry these two big guys with lightning. They are particularly annoying to deal with. This should be the last enemy I need to kill here. Yep. For whatever reason, you have to kill all of the enemies in this room except for one. Doesn't matter which one you don't kill, because when that door opens, just depends entirely on how many enemies you have killed. Here, I'm going to grab another unlimited energy, just to make quick work of this room. And call that elevator. And then I get to hope that they don't shoot me with a rocket and knock me off of the elevator, which happens more often than you'd think.
That tractor beam is maintaining the...
Okay, that was weird. Just trying to do an aerial strike up there to kind of get through this room a little bit quicker. I just need to break those two things, and then I can leave this room. This is a pretty annoying room to deal with. I want to grab the invincibility there, because these snipers are the worst thing ever. I have to move these two things up to the top to unlock the door. And if I didn't have the invincibility, those snipers would just be absolutely ruining my entire day. And even if you do grab the invincibility, there's a chance that one of them will hit you immediately after the little cutscene ends, and it'll still send you falling off to your death, and there's really not much you can do about it if that happens. But now we're coming up to the boss fight of this level. Right at the top of this elevator. Yeah, it's just one of these guys again. Hey, he's not doing anything.
Suggests that this is the best time to attack. I am certain that I will finally fulfill my programming.
Alright, so that robot is Proxy. If we had been paying attention to the story more for this game, we would know that he's the droid that belongs to Starkiller, and he's programmed to try and kill you at every opportunity he has, and that's just sort of how Starkiller keeps himself trained. And the way that Proxy does that is he takes on the form of various other Sith Jedi. And is being extremely trolly right now. So this boss fight sort of becomes like a boss rush. He's going to transform through various different enemies. Most of them bosses that I've already fought and beaten during the run. So now he's General Coda. Once his health is down low enough, then it's just kind of stuck waiting on a timer, because he does have to cycle through every enemy that he's got in him. before it'll go on to the next phase of the fight. I am keeping my guard up. Alright, so now we're getting to the third phase.
Shut down, Proxy. There's no one inside you that I haven't already defeated.
Give me some credit, Master. I have one module you've never seen. An enemy I've studied for years.
Okay, so that's about as bad as this phase can possibly start, because he totally ignored my repulse, and then did 2 saber throws in a row, which is super annoying. It's particularly annoying when he just ignores the repulse, because using repulse takes up so much force energy that you have to wait a long time before you can do it again. Okay, so now we're done with the fight. Just have to get through this quick time event, and then we're on to, the big famous moment from this game, which is pulling the Star Destroyer out of the sky. Alright, so at this point I want to level up one more time. Particularly I want to get, it's not that one, it's that one. I also want to put, never mind. That was the only one I wanted. So I leveled up 2 different skills, or 2 different attributes. One of them increases my total defense, and the other one increases my total health. And that's going to be important for the part where I'm pulling down the Star Destroyer. A lot of traversal I have to do in this part, so mainly what I'm concentrating on is managing my force energy effectively. Last one. That's going to fire this railgun at the Star Destroyer.
One of the Star Destroyers, it's headed right for me. I gotta get out of here.
You'll never get clear in time. You need to pull it into the cannon.
But first I have to get rid of these TIE fighters before it'll actually let me pull down the Star Destroyer.
Reach out with the Force and grab that ship, or you will die on this trash with the Force and grip that destroyer.
Alright, so the reason I leveled up my health and my defense is specifically for this part. So the minimum you can normally do this part in is 3 phases, or 3 waves, because every time you get to this part it spawns another wave of TIE fighters. So you can kind of see the next wave coming there already, just below the Star Destroyer. And those are all going to start shooting me once they get close enough. And so I'll have to stop pulling down the Star Destroyer once they start shooting me. But if I level up my health and defense enough, I can do this in 2 cycles instead of 3, because I'll have just enough health to survive that long. Okay, I'm gonna have to wait for that last one to come around one more time. And then his lightning is just going to whiff completely because this game's amazing. Yeah, if I got this down far enough during the first phase, then I should be able to get it all the rest of the way down during this phase. Whenever it'll let me. And so the reason I was using grip on the TIE fighters is because you can kind of get double or triple kills on them if you throw one of them into the others. I don't know exactly if I'm going to be able to get this all the way down. It took kind of a while to line it up. It's gonna be close. Be really close. Okay, should be good. Unless I get... Okay.
Your actions on Raxus Prime have left the Emperor most displeased.
The Emperor's enemies are still scared. I am just now earning their trust. If I am ever discovered talking to you, if they even suspect my past, all that will be destroyed.
Do not wait too long to contact me.
Can you trust him?
Vader won't risk my mission, even if he has doubts about me. Have we arrived?
We've reached Corellia. They're all here. Bale and his allies.
Alright, so this room really sucks. Let's skip it. You do a repulse on the floor right there, you can just drop right on through. Otherwise, the fight in that room is really annoying. Also, in case you didn't know, you can run alongside this beam. They should probably put a safety railing here or something. I'm gonna get a call into OSHA about this one. I just have to get to the end of this hallway. This level's kind of split into two halves. Luckily with Dashing Blast we can get through this whole hallway fast enough to make it to the end before that laser fires again. And then I'm just going to open this door and leave. I mean, those guys are going to stand there, like right beside me and just shoot me with flamethrowers. I don't really care. So I do a lot of jumping in that room, mainly because the two bigger troopers there can do a kind of a smash attack on the ground that would knock me down. I'm just trying to avoid that.
There should be a pair of spinning conductors that intensify the beam as it passes through the area. This station's laser. It's more powerful.
So here I've got to line up these rings so that I can get across the middle here. Unfortunately, I cannot line up the rings fast enough to be able to get through the second one before the laser fires again, but there is something else I can do. But when the laser fires, these same platforms extend, and with a good jump and a dashing blast, you can make it across without having to wait for the laser to finish. Also with Aerial Strike, we can skip certain cutscene triggers, like there's one right there that would normally show me what the game wants me to do in this room. But by doing an Aerial Strike to that computer terminal, we can skip that little cutscene. So, final boss fight's coming up pretty soon, so we're gonna have to cut off that donation incentive probably right about now.
Alright, it should be closed. Bad Ending has won the bid war.
Alright. So that is the faster ending. Okay, but first I have to fight these 5 guys here. And I'm going to do that by grabbing this health drain aura, because it's one of the other few really useful Sith Holocrons in the run. And you can see it's just, like, it's already killed 2 of these guys. It's going to kill at least 1 more. Yeah, there he goes. It's also helping me deal damage to the boss. Or the mini boss. There you go. That takes care of the mini boss. I just have to open up the door. And I also got a level up there, so I'm going to go do that really quick. I'm going to level up saber damage one more time, because this should let me skip the phase of the next boss fight. Game, what happened to the...
You are all traitors to
Somehow
the
I skipped past the loading trigger for the next area.
Tortured. You will give me the names of your friends and allies.
Alright, so now we're in the Vader Fight. This is not actually the final boss fight quite yet.
Serve me well, but your usefulness is at an end. Your journey ends here, now.
So this Vader Fight is pretty random. He can block most things. He'll just grab you whenever he feels like it. There can be instances where your lightsaber is very clearly going directly through him and not dealing damage, which is just the best. But I want to get his health as low as I can during this phase. So that was phase 1 of Vader, or Vader 1 in this case, because we're going to fight him twice with the bad ending. So if I manage to do enough damage during this second phase, I can skip the third phase, which is really ideal because the third phase is extremely random, and we got it. So that's a really nice skip to get, because the third phase of him is just the worst thing, because it's totally random whether or not you get to deal damage at all in that phase. Alright, so here's the point where I get to choose which ending I go for. On this bridge, if I go to the left, you can see the Emperor's over there, I'd fight him, that would give me the good ending. Vader's down there on my right, go down there and fight him to get the bad ending. So, I mentioned how the third phase of the first Vader fight's really random. This Vader fight is also extremely random. But the only ability he's vulnerable to is Force Grip. So I'm just kind of spamming that at him to try and toss him onto the ground so I can ideally get some impales on him. Okay, I'm out of force energy, so I have to wait a little bit before I can try again. You can see there, I was directly behind him when I started swinging and he still managed to block it. Timer stands up. There we go. Time's coming up real soon here, as soon as this quick time event ends. So I have to just hit B, B, and then X, and on the X is when it's time. And time.
You almost had 110 flat, 110.01.
Oh, nice.
You could probably chalk that down to an error on my part, too.
Yeah, when I say this is the bad ending, it's a pretty bad ending, which you can see in the cutscene.
Excellent. Lord Vader was a broken shadow of his former self. I knew that one day you would replace him. You'll have just one final test. Destroy your ties to the Jedi, and at last you will be a Sith Lord.
Also, my saber is blue right now for some reason, even though I never changed it.
You have betrayed your master and your allies. I knew that you would betray me as well. And now, you have doomed yourself and your friends. You had such promise. You could have been my successor, my equal. But now... But I may still have some small use for you. I still have enemies to find and destroy. You will do my bidding until I find a new apprentice. And then, like Vader, you will be cast aside. Finish him.
Alright, so that was Star Wars The Force Unleashed. Again, thank you guys for having me, and enjoy the rest of the marathon.